We're loading up on all this crap. I mean, you said Bitcoin is not a meme coin. Why not? Michael Saylor talk, oh, it's more valuable in real estate. It's more valuable in stocks. It's more valuable. Hey, you guys just believe in this. And it's like a cult.
Every thoughtful individual everywhere in the world is going to want perfected capital.
If major banks held more U.S. Treasuries, it would bring yields down. You've said you're going to take more of an active role, as I understand it, with respect to some of that banking regulation. Where are we with that?
That is moving along very quickly.
This is a guest post from Lauren Moroney, Chainlink advisor and former AI lead at Google. Well, this is the current state of the world computer. The mission of this channel is to make life-changing returns by being early-stage investors in revolutionary technology. We've seen it happen time and time again, and every single time it's happened, it's been out of environments like this, where we've been in just a horrendous macroeconomic environment that's depressed the prices of growth assets. And out of environments like that, the assets that have been building and accruing value ultimately skyrocket. So one way we determine which assets have that potential is by getting a whole bunch of different perspectives. On this video, we're going to go through brand new updates from Peter Schiff, who's famously anti-crypto, anti-Bitcoin, and Michael Saylor, who's incredibly pro-Bitcoin, obviously. First up, here's Peter Schiff.
Americans are some of the only people dumb enough to buy it. We're loading up on all this crap as the rest of the world is getting rid of theirs. They're selling us their Bitcoin and they're buying real things. You know, they're making real investments. You know, they're building factories. They're making consumer goods that improve people's lives. What do? We manufacture meme coins, and then we trade them.
Bitcoin. Meme coins are not Bitcoin. We're setting a precedent. As an American, you should be happy.
I mean, you said Bitcoin is not a meme coin. Why not? I mean, what is a meme coin? I mean, to me, a meme coin perfectly describes Bitcoin. The Bitcoin meme is its digital gold. That's what people say. It's not gold.
Very
it's
different.
With gold.
Bitcoin is decentralized and verifiably scarce. Actually, very wrong.
Michael Saylor talk, oh, it's more valuable in real estate. It's more valuable in stocks. It's more valuable. Hey, you guys just believe in this, right? And it's like a cult. It's like a giant cult. Satoshi is the god, right, that everybody worships.
So his criticism of Bitcoin is that it does nothing. It's a meme coin. There's no difference between Bitcoin and something like Caspa or SPX 6900 or Pepe coin, because what the interviewer said there, her defense of Bitcoin, was that it's decentralized and it's verifiably scarce. There can be many assets that are decentralized and verifiably scarce. Anyway, so we're going to compare Bitcoin's uses to undiscovered altcoins like Chainlink and ICP. But first, let's see what Michael Saylor has to say in rebuttal to Peter Schiff's super aggressive argument against Bitcoin.
Diversification, but you've gone all in on Bitcoin. What gives you such strong conviction in that choice?
Well, Bitcoin's the only digital commodity, and if you're going to be a public company, then you need to be capitalized on a commodity. And Bitcoin is the first commodity in the history of the world that outperforms the S&P index on a consistent basis. And every mathematical model you can possibly work through indicates that the right answer is 100% Bitcoin. Clarity of mind comes when you realize that Bitcoin is capital, perfected capital, programmable capital, incorruptible capital. The significance of that is every smart person, every thoughtful individual everywhere in the world is going to want perfected capital. Every one of your enemies is going to want incorruptible capital. And all of the AIs are going to want programmable capital. The demand for this is huge. What's it worth? It's worth half of everything.
So Michael Saylor likes it for being a digital commodity. Peter Schiff says it's a commodity with no utility. And so that's the perspective of both of these people when it comes to crypto. What are they missing? What do you know that they don't know? Well, if you're watching this, you now know that there's a use case coming for crypto. Citibank says trillions in assets could be tokenized by 2030. So we're talking trillions of dollars of value moving on a blockchain. These two guys aren't talking about that. Peter Schiff is criticizing Bitcoin. He doesn't know this is happening. Trillions of dollars of wealth moving on chain, and there's going to be infrastructure that takes advantage of it. And Michael Saylor is saying we just need a digital commodity. We don't necessarily need to take advantage of this mega trend, trillions of dollars of capital moving on chain. And here's something else you know that these two guys don't know. Tokenized US treasuries. Look at this exponential uptrend. We're just getting started. We're about to hit $5 billion of tokenized US treasuries moving on chain. What's going to capture all that value? It's not Bitcoin. It's not gold. There's a digital infrastructure that's underlying the future tokenization of the world's wealth. Again, neither of these two guys talking about it, neither of them investing in it. Here's something else they're not talking about. White House crypto czar David Sachs' stablecoin bill will unlock trillions of dollars for the US Treasury. So the US government fully understands the power of crypto and stablecoins. So what he's saying is, as trillions of dollars of the world's wealth moves on chain and is secured by very valuable protocols, a lot of that's going to flow into stablecoins. As money flows into stablecoins, the issuers of the stablecoins have to take that money and buy US treasuries. That's going to be very good for the United States government as demand increases for US debt, right? That's what the whole game is. Increasing demand for US debt. That lowers interest rates. That allows them to print more money and stimulate growth. It's everything. It's the entire game. And the US government strategy is stablecoins, right? Neither of these two guys are talking about it, but right now, if you're watching this, you understand how big this game is. And it's way beyond a digital commodity or meme coins. So here's a look at stablecoin transactions, another exponential trend. We're over $6 trillion of stablecoin transaction. That's going to hundreds of trillions of dollars of stablecoin transactions. We are so early. So as early stage investors in revolutionary technology, the trick is to have an edge and to see the future. We see hundreds of trillions of dollars moving on chain. And it's a proven exponential trend for tokenized assets and stable coins. Now, Michael Saylor can be wrong. In 2013, he said Bitcoin days are numbered. It seems like just a matter of time before it suffers the same fate as online gambling. So people can learn. He is not talking about one of the biggest mega trends the earth has ever seen, which is the tokenization of the world's wealth. And something else very, very few people are talking about is that this is the price chart of Bitcoin. So we can see in 2021, the price of Bitcoin was $69,000. Now it's $104,000. That's a 50.7% return since 2021. Here's the return of the NASDAQ since 2021. The charts are almost identical. We have the QQQ, which is a NASDAQ trust, a big tech stock trust, hitting a high of $405 in 2021. Now it's $519. So that's a return of 28%. So Bitcoin is outperforming the NASDAQ. It's not outperforming semiconductor stocks like NVIDIA, but it's outperforming the NASDAQ. But what we're seeing is that they are correlated. The trend is almost identical. They both dipped into 2023, and they both have gone up since then. Why have altcoins not performed? Why have ICP and Chainlink not performed? This is exactly why. Again, the earlier stage the asset, the higher the explosive upside. Bitcoin was not correlated to the NASDAQ in its early days. It was way earlier stage. It required massive infusions of liquidity into the global commodity. It was the first small cap crypto project, so it needed liquidity. And so this chart shows why other digital assets that are just as early stage as Bitcoin was in its early history, why they haven't performed. So in white, we see the ISM, that's essentially the economy. And in yellow, we see altcoins as a percent of Bitcoin total market cap year over year. So altcoins as a percentage of Bitcoin tank when the economy suffers, right? Look how terrible the economy has done since 2021. It's done miserably. So you're going to have your AI assets, your super established assets that Wall Street will funnel billions of dollars into. You're going to have your big crypto digital commodity Bitcoin that Wall Street's going to funnel money into. When the economy is suffering, early stage emerging growth tech doesn't do well. So this is why early stage assets like Bitcoin used to be don't do well and haven't done well in this environment. And that is why Bitcoin has done better and is outperforming the NASDAQ. But it's not exactly providing life-changing returns. It's up 50% from 2021, which is very good, but it's not exactly that life-changing return like you would have gotten if you were an early-stage investor in Bitcoin. Now, why has the economy suffered? And I just proved how altcoins are correlated to the economy. Why has the economy suffered? Because this chart has gone up. This chart is inversely proportional to the economy. If you flip it upside down, it looks exactly like the ISM chart. This is the 10-year bond yield. These are interest rates. When interest rates go up, they're the oxygen of the financial system, and they crush bull markets. Again, the price action in these assets makes perfect sense when you look at it through the lens of the macro environment. It really does make absolute perfect sense. This is a practically perfect correlation. Alt season will not happen when interest rates, which are the oxygen of the financial system, are going up, period. So who is fully aware of this? Well, Trump meets with Powell and tells him it's a mistake not to lower interest rates. This is Thursday, May 29, 2025. Obviously, the party in power wants interest rates to come down because that's going to stimulate growth in the economy. That's going to cause altcoins as a percentage of Bitcoin to go up. But what we have to stay on top of when it comes to understanding the macro environment and when prices move is what happens to interest rates. This was one of the biggest videos that have come out in the last few years. So unbelievably impactful. This is Scott Besson, the Treasury Secretary of the United States. Remember, the U.S. Treasury Secretary.
And let's talk about the supplemental leverage ratio, which seems like an obscure thing off to the side, but it has been the subject of much discussion. And it does, as I understand it, relate to U.S. Treasuries and yields on U.S. Treasuries, so that if major banks held more U.S. Treasuries, it would bring yields down. You've said you're going to take more of an active role, as I understand it, with respect to some of that banking regulation. Where are we with that?
I think we are very close to moving the supplementary leverage ratio, SLR. That is moving along very quickly between the three banking regulators, the Fed, the OCC, and the FDIC. So I would think we could see something on that over the summer.
Knowing the markets as you do, would you anticipate that might have a significant material effect on Treasury yields?
I think it could, because banks are being penalized for holding treasuries. There's a large supplementary leverage charge. So I think for holding the risk-free asset, we can reduce that. And I've seen estimates that it could bring yields down by tens of basis points. Certainly during the COVID crisis, it was temporarily taken off, and it had a big effect.
That video clip is the most important video clip you will ever watch when it comes to understanding what comes next for assets. What he said was the supplemental leverage ratio, when it was taken away, when that regulation that prevented banks from buying a whole bunch of U.S. debt, when that was taken away, and banks were allowed to buy a whole bunch of U.S. debt, it caused interest rates to plummet. It was an emergency measure that they did during the pandemic crisis. Again, what happened during the pandemic? This yellow line, altcoins as a percentage of Bitcoin total market cap, skyrocketed. So we had an alt season. That is why, because interest rates were lowered. This is how they get interest rates to go down. They use the exact same playbook that they used in 2020. They take away this regulation, the supplemental leverage ratio, and that allows banks to stack U.S. Treasuries. Money pours into U.S. Treasuries. Interest rates come down. The economy can be stimulated. And he's saying that happens this summer, meaning altcoin season happens this summer. So we know why altcoins haven't been doing well. They've been stagnating in a high interest rate economy, just like real estate, just like a lot of other small businesses. And now we know why and when altcoins like Chainlink, like ICP, are going to absolutely skyrocket this summer. It works like clockwork. It's exactly what happened during the pandemic, and it's exactly what is scheduled to happen this summer. Now, of course, the market could tank until then, but that is one of the most important video clips you will ever see. That is unbelievably massive. He is pointing to when altcoin season happens next. So which assets are revolutionary? Well, again, let's go back to something Michael Saylor just said.
You need to master artificial intelligence if you would be wealthy. In this day and age, in the year 2025, you have at your fingertips an array of accountants You have a group of lawyers. You have a set of professors, historians. You have at your fingertips all the collective wisdom of every great entrepreneur. You have everything that I know, everything that any other CE knows. All you have to do is go to the AI.
Now, before we dive into some of the most revolutionary assets, provably, undeniably revolutionary assets on the planet that are going to take advantage of this mega trend and are currently on deep discount, which is the sweet spot for early stage investors. Before we dive into some fundamentals, here's Peter Schiff.
And I thought about throwing 10 grand in or 50 grand. I don't know. I was going to buy some. And I remember asking the guy, told me, well, what's to stop somebody else from coming up with another one? I mean, can you have another cryptocurrency, or is it just Bitcoin? Well, I said, no. I mean, you could just make another one and have another name, and it can have the same properties. So in other words, there's an unlimited number of cryptos that can be created. So it's not really that unique. It's just the first one. And they can make more. And they said, yeah, they can make more. And that was kind of what I said, well, then what do I, why buy it?
So what Peter Schiff wants when it comes to investing is an asset that is very difficult to replace, an asset that has a competitive advantage, and an asset that has a big moat and produces value. What Michael Saylor wants is Bitcoin, but he's saying master artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is the future. So let's first look at ICP. Is it replaceable? Is it easy to just replicate ICP? Well, this is the current state of the world computer. We have 81 data centers around the world providing compute to power the world computer. We have 571 node machines in 56 regions and 37 subnets in 33 countries. So it is decentralized in data centers all over the planet. That's the power of the world computer. Very difficult for someone to just spin up a token and try to replicate that. Just right there. He doesn't know what's going on with some of these altcoins. He doesn't know that a lot of them aren't replaceable. He also doesn't know that crypto assets can generate real revenue. ICP made $10 million of revenue in a down market over the last 180 days. Let's compare that to Michael Saylor's Bitcoin. Michael Saylor's Bitcoin made $126 million of revenue. So it made 12 times the amount of money that ICP made. It's worth way more than 12 times ICP, and ICP is just getting started. So ICP produces things, it's making money, it's beating 99% of blockchains in terms of revenue generated, and it's very difficult to just recreate. Now, Michael Saylor is bullish on AI. He's like master AI. Well, coming up very soon, we have World Computer Day. This is Dominic Williams, the head of the Definity Foundation, which develops ICP. World Computer Day on the 3rd of June in a few short days at Definity HQ in Zurich. Might as well have been called Caffeine AI and Self-Writing Internet Day. TikTok can't get no sleep, right? In a few short days. If you're watching this, it might have already happened, but we have the World Computer Day where they're about to announce the launch of a self-writing internet, an intelligent programming language. So ICP is trying to master AI, like Michael Saylor's talking about. They're trying. Is it speculative? Do we know how it will turn out? No. But we know this is a decentralized world computer that runs entirely on the blockchain, that is making way more money than most crypto layer ones, which means that it's set to capitalize on the tokenization of everything. Now, is it growing? Is the ecosystem big? At the World Computer Summit 2025, look at all these ecosystem projects that are going to be presenting. Here's 6. Here's another 6. Here's another 6. Here's another 6. These are all teams. Each one of these represents a team of intelligent people building on the world computer. Here's another 6. And here's another 6. There are hundreds of projects building on the world computer that is working to master AI, and the world computer is making a lot of money. Right now, Bitcoin, which made $120 million of revenue in the last 180 days, is relying on miners to secure it. Those miners are relying on inflation from Bitcoin. That's why every halving event that happens, their rewards, their payment goes down. Eventually, they're going to have to rely on the revenue earned, and it's only making 12 times more than ICP, and ICP is just getting started. Yes, it's more speculative, but where there's risk, there is reward. And we've seen what ICP can do. Whenever there's a speculative pump in crypto, ICP pumps. We've covered that. It's very correlated to the rest of the crypto market. So this summer, when alt season happens, ICP is probably going to skyrocket, probably attract more capital. Now, again, are we seeing an uptrend, an uptick in the adoption of this asset? Absolutely. Here's Canister smart contracts. This speaks to development activity on the world computer. So when it comes to making life-changing wealth, we want assets that are very difficult to replace, that are growing exponentially, that have revolutionary breakthrough technology, and that are taking advantage of artificial intelligence and trying to master it. What about Chainlink? Can you just immediately replicate Chainlink and create another one? Well, this video gives a visual representation of what's called the Linkternet. This is the ecosystem that Chainlink connects. And yes, it's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger every single day. They just added Solana to the Linkternet, which isn't even represented here. The crypto world is being connected by this Linkternet. Very difficult to replace an asset like that. And here's just a short list of all the assets that Chainlink connects. Massive, 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 massive list of assets. Again, we want exponential growth. That's what Chainlink is. That's exactly what Chainlink is. The new internet should essentially be called the Linkternet because look at all these assets that are being connected. Exponential adoption is all we need when trying to make life-changing returns. That's literally it, with the potential of making huge profits. Obviously, all these assets are going to be paying Chainlink for use of its irreplaceable network. Now, is Chainlink mastering artificial intelligence like Michael Saylor says to do? This is from Chainlink's website, Building Trust in AI Agentic Workflows. This is a guest post from Lauren Moroney, Chainlink advisor and former AI lead at Google. It really doesn't get bigger than a former AI lead at Google. So essentially what he's saying is Chainlink, the Linkternet, is going to power AI through verifiable credentials, trusted market data through oracles, zero knowledge proofs for private data analysis, smart contracts for agreement terms, and AI will be the intermediary. So Chainlink is mastering the future as well, right? The future is on chain. Chainlink's connecting different blockchains. Again, trillions of dollars of the world's wealth will be on chain. AI agents will be moving a lot of that wealth. And those AI agents, if they want access to the tokenized wealth of the planet, are going to be using Chainlink. So this is the world as we see it, right? Again, the whole mission is to make life-changing returns. The best way to do that is to find assets that are growing exponentially and taking advantage of proven megatrends and that are selling off on deep discount. That is exactly what we're seeing right now. This is the sweet spot. We also know the bull market is on its way, right? This summer. Doesn't get bigger than this.